What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the next episode of Sports Talk with Hawk. Today we look at a up-and-coming team, hopefully, in the northwest corner of the United States, the Seattle Seahawks. I love their coach, but what does year number 2 bring? Let's check it out. Here we go. Welcome back in, guys, to the next episode of Sports Talk with Hawk. Today we take a look at the Seattle Seahawks and Coach Mike Macdonald. It's a little bit alarming of what this team may have to deal with here in the offseason. It doesn't look great, I'm not going to lie. There are certain teams. So we had this offseason, the New Orleans Saints were a team that was open to be able to coach. And everybody's aware at this point, most even casual fans know, that the Saints kept pushing the buck down the line further and further when it came to their salary cap and paying everybody. That eventually bites you in the butt. The Seattle Seahawks slightly did the same thing, and now look at where they're at. They've got negative cap space, and even after you get the extra supposed 15 to 20 million that they'll gain in salary cap, you're still going to be 7 million over. You are way over the salary cap. So let's just check that for a second. So the top teams over the salary cap, and this is a teaser, obviously, because of the snapshot. So pre-extra salary cap increase, okay, so pre all of that, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams that are over the cap before the raise. The third worst team is the Seahawks. The second worst team is the Browns, and the worst team, Kellen Moore gets to deal with all that crap. And FYI, we haven't done the snapshot yet. That'll be this weekend. The Saints are negative $52 million. You heard me right. Negative $52 million in cap, which means even after they get 15 to 20, they're negative $30 to $35 million in cap. Negative. So, at what point do you just blow it up? Here's an issue, and I know I'm a little bit sidetracked. We'll get onto the snapshot here in a second. Here's the biggest issue. Teams' unwillingness to go 3-13, now 3-14. The team's unwillingness to just build a piece or two at a time. What if the Saints decided to just say, screw it, we're not going for it? I don't know which quarterbacks are going to come out next year's class, okay? There's a lot of speculation that maybe Arch will come out. I don't think so. After 1 year, does that sound like something that a Manning would do? But what if he does? What if he ends up being what I really believe he can be with starting? I think he needs 2 years in the college. I really do. I think he needs 2 years in college to start before he's ready to come to the NFL. But what if he ends up just lighting it up? Arch Manning goes to where Archie Manning played? Be absolutely epic. It'd be perfect. Why not go 3-14 this year? It's not about, and this is the thing, It's not about tanking. This isn't the NBA, and this isn't Major League Baseball where you've got owners that are just trying to pocket money and never improve their team. That's a whole different issue. That's a competitive issue. You're negative $52 million in the cap. The Seahawks are negative $27 million in the cap. After the increase, they're negative $7 to $12 million automatically. You weren't good enough to win the division. You know the Rams are going to get better. The 49ers aren't going to stay down for long. You can't expect them to stay down for long. So your shot, that window is kind of small. You've got to make the moves. These teams that keep trying to hang on and hang on and hang on, it drives me nuts. If you're the Saints, if you're the Browns, you have your dead cap year. You just get rid of every dead cap that you need this year. Pay all that dead cap money out, and you start fresh in 2026. The Seahawks really don't have that ability. They've built some solid pieces through the draft. They've got players. But they're middle of the road when it comes to the teams. They are legitimately 14th in total offense and 14th on defense. That's exactly what they are. 14th and 14th. So, good enough to make the playoffs. But when it came down to on the field, you weren't good enough to make the playoffs. So here we go. 14th total offense, averaging 332 yards a game. 8th best passing offense at 236 yards a game. Geno Smith, I believe, has overachieved a little bit, but I believe he's a starter. I don't think he's a great starter, but I think he's a starter. He is a solid starter, and I think there's multiple teams that would love to have him. They were 28th, though, in rushing. That's a little concerning. I know Mike McDonald would prefer for the ground game to be a little bit stronger, and it should with Kenneth Walker. They're going to have to get that figured out. They average 96, under 100 yards rushing per game. They averaged scoring 22 points per game. They were 14th on defense at 333 yards a game, so only 1 yard more average per game. They were 11th against the pass at 212, and they were 16th against the rush at 121 yards a game, and they allowed 22 points per game, just like the Texans. Same allow, same score. That's not bad. The team has everything there. You can keep kicking the can down the road, but here's the issue, and the Colts have run into this now. I called this last year, if you guys remember. I said, if they sign the same players, they're going to actually get progressively worse. Because those players aren't making the playoffs now, and they're not going to add the pieces to make the playoffs, to fill in where those players don't excel. Kenny Moore, I'm sure, has a market. The Colts paid him way too much money to be a 5'10 slot corner in the NFL. Way too much money. They paid Grover Stewart, a solid defensive tackle, and we saw defensive line matters. He's old. The guy doesn't do great when it comes to pass rushing. He's more of a rundown defensive tackle. You paid him a bunch of money. This is the issue the Seahawks are now going to run into. Who do you pay? How do you pay them? In my opinion, so let's look at their free agents. They only have 16, so it's not like they're losing a bunch of guys. They've only got 16. And here they are. Jonathan Hankins, the defensive tackle, 33. Let him go. Jaron Reed, the defensive end, 32. Let him go. Kavon Wallace, the safety. You can re-sign him if you can get him for a good price. Travis Gibson, the defensive end / linebacker, 28. You could re-sign him if you need. Artie Burns, Ernest Jones, Trey Brown, Josh Joby, all free agents as well. Then you've got Laken Tomlinson, the guard, 33. I mean, he can be a backup. Maybe he can still start and uh, contribute on the offensive line. That's possible. But he's going to be 30. He's 33 years old now. Like, there is an aspect to this. Kind of got to let them go. But none of these guys were Jaron Reed was making $4.5 million. Nobody else made over $3.5 million on the rest of the free agent list. So that means you're going to have to get rid of players. So how do we do this? Let's dive into this. How do we do this? I found this website, and this is what I've kind of been using. My thought on this is really simple. The number one player that's got to go is Tyler Lockett. So here we go. I knew I was looking for it. There it is. So Seattle Seahawks have some players that are paid way too high. Way too high. Tyler Lockett, okay, has a he's still got one more year on his contract. Now, they could cut him, from what I'm looking at here. They can cut him. But here's the effective issue. You don't get any value out of cutting him. So when he signed this previous deal, which is a 2-year deal, he was 31 years old. He is now going to be 33. He's averaging almost $15 million a year in salary cap. The guarantee was only 12. I really think you need to trade Tyler Lockett. When you look along the rest of the defensive line, I don't know how you keep everybody else intact. Noah Fant, which signed last year, has $11 million guaranteed. I would trade him. I would trade him. Byron Murphy's the rookie. He's good. Jackson Smith and Njigma, he's got to step up now. It's got to be DK Metcalf and Jackson Smith, unless last year of his contract you trade DK. Now, I know there's going to be outcry from the Seattle Seahawks. I can hear it already. But why not? Hear me out. You are negative cap. You've got to make moves. I think Noah Fant could be a cap casualty. I definitely believe Tyler Lockett's going to be a cap casualty. What could you get for DK Metcalf, though? Look at Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. DK Metcalf has a legitimate value. I don't think you can blow up the defense that Seattle has right now. I really don't. I was looking at the numbers and realizing they kind of got better as the year went on. First year underneath the new defensive coordinator. And they still ended up top half of the league in everything. Their turnover differential was -6. That was the interesting thing. They got 13 interceptions and 5 fumble recoveries, so they averaged 1 turnover or 1 takeaway a game. But they gave away 16 interceptions and 8 fumbles. So, grand total, -6 in the turnover differential. You fix that. That could be a game. That could be 2 games that you win instead of lose. DK Metcalf has had his injury issues. There is going to be so much cap casualty. The wild trade that I have for these guys, it's just about cutting cap because I like the defense. I like what they've set up. I like what they've drafted. I like what they've done. The trades they've made are really solid. I like them. But I don't know what else to do unless you're going to trade some guys that are sitting, let's see here. So, like George Fant, the right tackle, he's going to be 32 years old. You could get rid of him if you want. He's basically about $5 million. There's not much else here, though. I mean, I'm looking at there's not much else that's going to really take a cut. The Geno Smith contract, I don't think was great. This is a contract year for Geno Smith. I don't think was great. Everybody's a free agent after. So listen to this. 2025. These are the contracts ending in 2025. Geno Smith, DK Metcalf, Draymond Jones, Tyler Lockett, Noah Fant, Michael Dickinson, Rayshawn Jenkins, George Fant, Boy Mafe, Kenneth Walker. I know there's people are kind of split on him because of the injuries. I don't want to lose him. I don't think you're going to have to pay much to keep him. I'd sign him to another contract. Absolutely. I don't know what to do because there's not a lot of the contracts were kind of done wrong. And this is most of it is by the regime before. Most of this is not Mike McDonald's doing. So I really don't know what you do. You've got to cut cap. I mean, that in the description, all I say is cut cap, cut cap, cut cap, cut cap. That's the only thing there is. You've got the number 18 pick in the draft. You've got some ability to move around, to do a couple different things. I like where the defense is. You could add a couple more pieces to the defense and potentially make it a Baltimore Raven defense. Maybe there's a player on the defensive side of the ball that doesn't fit McDonald's game plan, necessarily the scheme. There's a possibility for that. I mean, 100% possibility for that. But I don't know what you do. I think Lockett, got to get rid of him. Fant, got to get rid of him. You honestly have to entertain offers for DK Metcalf. And about 15 teams will be calling you about DK Metcalf. Could you get a first in this draft? Probably. Could you move off George Fant, the right tackle, if you can draft a rookie right tackle? Yes, you could. Could you make some moves to lower that cap number, get you back where you need to be? Absolutely. The dead cap money shouldn't be that high with the trades. You only have to eat it for a year, and then you have all your cap back next year. Going back to what I started out ranting on at the beginning, you have to be okay with having a down year. I was watching the games, and this is how we're going to close this out. So I found a YouTube channel that has a lot of the old Colts games, a lot of the Peyton Manning era Colts games. And what I noticed watching the difference between the teams of Jim Mora and Tony Dungy. Jim Mora actually sucked as a head coach. He got out-coached constantly. Now, we know that more now because of watching coaching matchups. We're more educated on it. Watching those games now, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing how badly out-coached he got in a lot of games. Jim Mora was very bad. But one thing I noticed, without that year with the infamous playoffs thing of going 6-10, Mora doesn't get fired and then Dungy doesn't get hired. And it doesn't usher in what was an absolutely beautiful streak here in Indianapolis. Sometimes you need the 6-10 year to reach the potential you really have. I have no clue if Mike McDonald is the right coach or not. I don't know. He didn't do bad. He's above 500. He was in position for a division championship heading into week 17. what you can't ask for much more from a first-year head coach. Year number 2, I think, because you're going to stick with him, this has to be that 6-10 year. This needs to be the year where you reset it so that you can improve. The Saints should have done this a while ago. Now they're going to hurt Kellen Moore, and Moore will get 3 years to figure this out. That family is not going to move off of Kellen Moore unless something's absolutely awful. They're not going to move off Kellen Moore. He's got time to redo everything. And they understand the cap situation is absolute garbage. So, they'll have time. Seattle, I think, has to do the same thing with McDonald. Listen, we've got some old guys on contracts. It's not great. We may need to take a step back this year. And they'll, behind closed doors, and this is what matters, behind closed doors, you have to be honest. You have to be honest behind closed doors going, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure if this is what it's going to be. I don't know if we're really sitting where we need to be able to actually truly compete. Obviously, we're not going to tell anybody else we're not competing, but listen, we got to take a step back, really evaluate who we have on this team this year, and then move forward. That's where the Colts screwed up in the Manning year when he was injured. They didn't evaluate anybody. It wasn't, okay, let's take a step back. We may go 2-14. So what? Let's evaluate everybody, and then in the offseason, we know exactly what we need to do. No. It was, unfortunately, the start of the demise of the Colts organization from the top down. And that's unfortunate. If you're Seattle, you got to make cap room, and I think you start with Lockett and Noah Fant, possibly the right tackle George Fant. Trade who you can, get some capital, try to trade up. Get 2 or 3 picks in the first round if you can in this draft. I know everybody's like, everybody's saying it's a bunch of second rounders. Well, go get them. Because they're cheaper. They fix your cap problem. For 4 years, they'll fix your cap problem. Go get them. That's my legitimate thoughts. Straight up, I like where this team is. The defense is young. Players everywhere on that defense. The offense is going to probably struggle unless you cut cap and really make some smart moves. We'll see if the front office is able to. That's really where we're at. We'll see if the front office is able to. All right, guys. That was another one down. Seahawks are done. Tomorrow we have the Minnesota Vikings. Tomorrow for a fabulous Friday. It is Thursday. Combine is now officially in full swing. And you know what? We'll see what happens. We will see what happens. As always, I appreciate you guys hanging out. Thank you so much for stopping by. Make sure to subscribe, like the podcast, and ring that notification bell so that you know every time a new podcast is released. And from me to you, have a great day and make it the best day that you can. For Sports Talk with Hawk, until tomorrow, have a great day. I'm out.